Well, in this section, guys, I want to talk about what Google is, how many types of accounts it has, how an account can be created, the ways to charge it, and so on. The first topic is that in the market, guys, you hear strange names like shared account, dedicated account, and so on. Correctly, individual becomes dedicated, but I've talked about shared before, and it's meaningless. Well, in this section, I want to tell you all that. In Google, you only have two types of accounts, an individual one and a multi-user one that you are using, which also falls into two different modes. So at that point, it's not another type of account, it's just different modes. Or actually, your account is an MCC, or my client center, or a manager account. So what's the difference between these guys? A manager account can actually have a larger number of accounts under its umbrella, although it also has limitations for its usage and so on, which I'm not getting into right now, but in the discussion of individual accounts. Actually, let's talk about them. As I mentioned, with each Gmail or any email, you can have up to 20 accounts, meaning individual accounts directly connected to you. Guys, when we are talking about accounts and creating accounts, in the context of individual accounts, two topics arise, and you might encounter two different interfaces. Look, the first mode is the expert mode. Guys, expert mode and smart mode, or also known as express mode, are actually these two modes, expert and express, or also known as smart. Guys, smart is similar to express. Do you remember? For example, it would provide you with a summary of the entire application so you could use it in such a manner. Well, this is what expert mode is. This is the overview I've been showing you so far. In express mode, or also known as smart mode, some items are missing. For example, the campaign path is very simplified and summarized. Well, or rather, you have to make decisions from the point of account recharge. When you want to recharge your account, the decision making starts from this point. Either you want to recharge it yourself or you want to outsource it. If you want to recharge it yourself, you will handle everything from the beginning up to the payment point. If you are going to outsource, for example, suppose you want Atif to create an account for you. Well, at this point, if you want to outsource, suppose my agency wants to do it. For instance, Nawan. You just send your Gmail or email, we create the account, handle the payment, and set your Gmail on it, and that account becomes yours for e-coast access. Let me tell you something right here, guys. When you are given access, you will receive an email that you need to accept using a VPN. If you are getting the error 403 and 3 when you are receiving it, you need a VPN. Well, sometimes even your VPN is set up, but it doesn't work properly. The issues are a topic of discussion. Financial and tax issues might arise for them. This matter is very important, and don't take it lightly at all. It might even cause them stress. Well, you need to familiarize yourself with the financial and tax laws of the countries you are dealing with. It's true that many might say, I haven't faced any problems so far. But just because I haven't faced any problems doesn't mean everything is correct. Well, maybe I haven't faced any issues yet. It can also cause problems for us, let alone this situation. I want to tell you that knowing this matter is very important. In fact, when you want to make a charge, you need to specify whether you want to handle it yourself or outsource it. You need to be aware of this if you are involved yourself. Because you need to have a bank account, you need to know the financial aspects and taxes related to it. If you don't know and start working on that account, it's not like something simple. For example, someone might say, well, I'm just making payments. But it's not just that. It counts as financial work, and you need to consider the tax aspects, not just for appearances. What I want to say about creating an account is that if you decide to proceed with what I'm telling you, then go ahead. But if you decide to explore, for example, you might say, I want to go and create an account. Depending on the currency that the organization operates with, for instance, my organization is currently working with the lira, so I create the account in lira, or I have an account somewhere else, for example, in dollars. You can't convert it to lira, guys. I'll tell you later, that the currency of the account is non-changeable. So it's important that the account is created correctly, but there's no problem with this issue. We'll talk more about these matters in detail later. So I go to ads.google.com and here I either click on target or sign in. It doesn't matter. They all lead to the same place. Here you see, guys, on my Gmail, there's already an account. For example, I want to create a new account, create a new Google Ads account. This is not for MCC, it's for an individual account. Look, guys, when you click on this, you can see exactly this topic in your slides as well. When you click on this, it goes into smart mode. This. Smart mode, guys, you see. This is the smart mode. Okay, and down here it says switch to expert mode. So, where else can we understand this? We see it written as Express at the top, okay? It says Express. If you continue with this, it's exactly the same topic I mentioned to you. Guys, you have a campaign, but actually the path is something else entirely. Its situation is completely different from your expert mode model. There are a series of manual controls you don't have at all. You don't have this burden right now. You go into it without even having a keyword planner and so on. Okay. I want to go back to expert mode here. See the switch to expert mode, guys. I've marked it for you here. You click on switch to expert mode. What happens when I click on this? It comes up for creating a campaign. Guys, I emphasize again, a review of two paths I mentioned. Either you want to do everything from the beginning yourself, or you outsource your charge. Well, if you outsource, first it goes into the throat, then you say, I want to create an account, for example. Initially, if it's not there, don't announce it at night. It won't be created quickly. In fact, you provide your Gmail or email, and it will be created for you. You go to the account, just go into your Gmail, and accept on your Outlook or any other email. Once you hit accept, you enter the dashboard with a pin in your name and start continuing the story. They will handle the charge for you, okay? Guys, I see the issue is like this. It comes in and says, let's go and determine this campaign start together. It might be that you don't want to start a campaign right now and just want to create an account, and so on. You see, create an account without a campaign here. You click on this, and guys, it asks you three things. When it's asking you these three things, be aware during the account creation process. Three things are unchangeable, okay? One is the billing country, which must match the billing information you add, for example, Turkey. The time zone is always like that, and it should be monetary. Sir, I should be able to choose another currency. I'm not saying we can't choose, you see. And the point is that, well, now I want to work with the lira. Okay, I want to work with the lira. If you change it, start with it. Those of you who are here, you have a rate at this time, don't change it. This other one now says, give a performance tip, or I say no, I don't want it. I choose this and submit it. When I submit it, guys, it's also changed. That do not change. Currency unit, time zone, and country. These three items do not change in the account after creation of Turkey. So if you want to change your currency unit, you need to have a new account or create a new account today. Okay, the account. Guys, up to this point, I have logged into the account. Remember, I told you that sometimes the breadcrumb might change its form. Now look, I don't have that left line that I used to have before. The left line that I had here, I don't have it now. Do you see this? This and this breadcrumb up here that I used to select, I don't have it anymore. Do you see? For example, I come into the package. Look, how do I have this breadcrumb here now? I have this breadcrumb here. Do you see it? I have this breadcrumb here. It's exactly the same, meaning it has brought the left line to this model, and here we see it again. It has brought the left line and the top breadcrumb in this way. Okay. And you can see that, for example, I can choose its type, the campaign husband. The campaign doesn't just show me everything. Okay, now. The next point. Now I want to move on to the fact that I am looking at a dashboard here. The question arises here. Which currency unit is really important and better? Guys, the point is, see, In the previous video, I mentioned that the smallest bidding unit, your smallest bidding unit, is 1/100th of your account's currency. Okay? Is 1/100th of your account's currency correct? So whether it's dollars down to 1 cent or lira down to 1 unit, which is better, guys, between the Thai baht or the dirham and the dollar and the lira and the euro, for example, or the pound and so on, I personally prefer the lira. Because firstly, it's not right that the dollar changes. If we want to talk about these guys, your riel is changing worse than anything else. The first point is that the bidding unit is a logical bidding unit in the context of bidding. The third point is that when buying and selling, the price is exactly clear. Unlike some currencies like the Thai baht, which I can almost say is not clear at all, and compared to the dollar, its steps are large. Guys, remember I told you about the exchange rate? Suppose you want to make a slight change. The dollar wants to move this. The bid is so high. The lira is so high. So this is again a lower example, going back to the previous discussions about actual CPC calculations and so on. And the rest are not there, and so on and so forth. Did you get what happened? So the points I'm telling you, the reason I choose this myself doesn't mean you have to do it. The choice is yours. I shared my own focus and analysis. Many say, sir, it all becomes dollars, this and that. Yes, dollars will create more profitability for me. But the reality is that when you are actually bidding in lira, you are taking smaller steps. In the end, you can. You can also have a more localized and cooler setup. Let's move on to the payment discussion. So far, I have an account and I want to set up the payment method on it. Guys, in the payment discussion, you have one payment method and one payment setting. You have one payment method and one payment setting. The payment method refers to what you want to use to make the payment, essentially the source from which the money will be transferred. Well, it's either a credit or debit card that we add to the account, or it's a direct debit or a money transfer. These are the three options. However, the payment setting, guys, is the payment model. Automatic payment, manual payment, and monthly invoicing. Monthly invoicing has some initial settings, essentially prerequisites, such as the account having been active for a certain period, and other conditions. In the discussion of manual payment and automatic payment, one thing that exists is that in fact, depending on the country you are choosing for the payment discussion, for example, in Canada, you go for automatic payment, while in Turkey you go for manual. Some countries only have automatic payment. In automatic payment, you can clearly define a maximum amount, and you can also set a time period for account settlement. For instance, it says monthly. Assume, sir, 1,000 lira. If you reach 1,000 lira, before that 1 month, well, until that date, for example, assume the 24th of the month. At this point, it settles your account, automatically deducts it, and gives it credit. These are postpaid. Well, it doesn't really matter which is better than the other. In practice, the payment method depends a lot on the place within that organization. If you are doing it yourself in that country or within that organization. And ultimately, if it doesn't reach 1,000 lira, the consumption cost, kids, here someone has a charge. It goes until, for example, the 24th of the month. It actually settles and takes from your account. Then it gets spent again. The cycle goes up. Well, it's your consumption. It becomes postpaid or modern prepaid, which means manual. For instance, I'm saying I charge your account with a certain amount. For example, come to the tool settings section. In the summary section, when you click on this, kids, this section will appear for you. Your billing country, which is Turkey, whether you are an organization or an individual, depends on what registration you have. Your name and address, kids. Please put your exact billing information of your card here, okay? And your address, postal code, district and province. Now here it says, sir, should I set it to manual or automatic? I set it to manual for now. For example, you see the payment amount. I say, sir, I want to set it to 1,000 lira. And here it asks, sir, do you want to do a money transfer or use a credit or debit card? As I just told you, here it's a money transfer. When you say money transfer, actually it gives you an output that you can use to actually make the payment. Or you can use a debit card where you enter your card details here, whether it's a Visa card, a MasterCard, or anything else you have. You enter the month and CVV here and the cardholder's name, which is the account owner. And finally, you agree to the terms and policies and submit. That's all. Well, you make your payment, guys. Sometimes it might give you an error here. In such cases, contact your bank for any errors that might occur during the payment process. For example, at the beginning, it might not allow a certain amount to be deducted from your balance, so you need to contact the bank initially and so on. Regarding wanting to adjust your card and make a payment, if you want to, as I mentioned, those currency exchange discussions become significant. Financial and banking topics, which are not relevant here at all. Guys, the point is that this is not on the MCC account managers. You can't charge an MCC and say, okay, now take this much. To this one and that much, no, to another one. Well, your charge is placed on that individual account. So the issue you want to address is that someone might say, I want to outsource this to an agency to handle it for me. For example, a reputable agency. Send your email. An account is created for you through this process. And then we provide access to that account. You just need to confirm it through your email. Oh, don't forget, what was error 433 about? It's a VPN issue. You need to change your VPN or make sure your VPN is working correctly. Finally, you log in, accept it, and enter the account. Then you can easily see the account balance. You just click on accept invitation and proceed to set up your campaign notifications. These were the two ways you had to create an account, which I mentioned regarding MCC, which is for agency matters and so on, but we won't get into that. Now, it goes on and on and on. So, it has become two topics. Only individual accounts are charged, not MCCs or major accounts. I mentioned that the name of the shared account is meaningless. I said that when you are setting up an individual account, it initially goes into smart mode or express mode, which you can change to expert mode, as we saw. We had a payment setting and a payment method. The payment setting is whether it's prepaid manual or postpaid automated, which I mentioned depends on the country where we are actually making the payment. It is discussed in the context of the specific country. The Mansing Imulisi package, which I am not dealing with here, has its own specific requirements. And ultimately, your payment method, which I mentioned as money transfer, involves entering your work data. The money transfer is clear. It actually gives you a SWIFT code. And based on that, you make your payment. And regarding the BitCard issue, as I mentioned, please review the data carefully in this form. However, I might not take this risk. You might want to do it, and you are free to do so. Because Iran is under sanctions, the likelihood of your account being suspended increases due to this matter. The account of the person whose account you are dealing with might get blocked. Another point is that if there is a turnover beyond a certain limit, the bank will question it. Also, remember that we are Iranian, and if there is an issue with the account, it might not be easy to resolve it. And if a problem arises, it might be difficult to resolve. Therefore, due to sanctions, agencies are actually providing this assistance to various businesses so they can easily make their payments and overcome this issue. Naturally, they charge a fee because they are providing a service. Don't get too involved. Let me tell you straight, they play with you in the habits. And this happens very subtly. But the point is, don't forget, guys, none of these setups are theft. First of all, well, it's true, you might say, sir, I have a transaction called such and such. I accepted it somewhere, okay? But the point is that in the end, you are buying a lira or a dollar, you are selling it, and this in itself has another story. Now I want to remind you, if you want to do it yourself, be prepared to handle these issues alone, so if it gets suspended. or if there's a problem for Jim, or if an issue arises with your domain. Then there's the matter of resolving it, navigating through it, and so on. It's a long story. You have to write letters, you have to email Google, you have to email about the problem, you might even need to contact your bank, you have to correspond with your bank, and so on. So these are the two ways you have for the issue of charging and for creating an account. If you went on a Safari, creating an account involves one task, a Gmail, and a payment that you have for a company. You will receive an email to accept, and you must adhere to these steps. Finally, complete the process for your account and continue the story. So in this section, we learn these things and what. In the next step, we move on to the topic of creating a campaign. And in the next video, you will learn how to create your campaign from scratch and how to generate traffic afterwards and continue the story.